Hey there, Wild One. Welcome back to Wildly Intentional. I'm so glad you're here for today's episode. This one is part of my Out Loud and On Purpose series. No filters, no fluff, just bold stories and honest conversations to help you live more fully and lead with your heart. Today, I'm talking to someone I've known for 7 years, a total wild card, and one of the most generous spiritual guides that I know, Michael Bodine. He's a future-loving psychic and the best-selling author of Growing Up Psychic and A Psychic's Life. Michael splits his time between Hollywood and Minnesota, and he has been reading for celebrities and ghost busting for decades. But here's the thing. He's given me and my family so much confidence and laughter over the years. Michael has this energy, humor, and confidence that grounds me in a simple, everything's gonna be okay, honey, even when the world feels super chaotic. I reach out to him when I'm overwhelmed or just feeling way too serious. And honestly, the podcast has felt a little serious lately. So I knew it was time to bring in a different energy. His energy. He's helped me personally through a lot with the unseen. And in this episode, we're going deep into his process, spiritual protection, and you'll even hear him give me a live mini reading, and one for Tom and our farm. And it's all with his humor and confidence that make him just such a joy and a gift. You won't believe some of the stories that have shaped his childhood and changed everything for him and his family. Nothing was off limits for this one. Michael gave me free rein to ask him whatever I wanted. If you've ever felt a presence, seen a shadow, heard a bump in the night, and wondered what to do, you're going to love this conversation. Michael shares both wild stories and practical tools for protecting your energy and making sense of the unseen. This one's especially for the curious unlearners, the restless reformers, and the mavericks. If you're not sure which wild way you are, you can take the free quiz at wildlyintentional.com or use the link in the show notes. Buckle up, guys. You ready to dive in with Michael? Reclaim your rhythm. Rethink the rules. Rewrite your life. This is Wildly Intentional, the show where we question the scripts we've inherited and build a life, family, and legacy on purpose. If you're done living on autopilot, come with a curious mind and a courageous heart. Here, we talk about what it means to question, unlearn, create, and build what truly matters. I'm your host, Mandy, maverick mom of 3, maker, family culture builder, lifelong question asker, and the friend people call when they're ready to rethink, well, everything. I'm here to shake the norms, tell the truth, and light the way forward. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I live for this stuff.
It's awesome to have you, and it's so good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to see you too.
Do you care if we just jump in then?
Jump in. Just, go crazy.
Okay. Well, I obviously have known you for a handful of years now.
A handful, yes.
Yes. I want to back up because so many people are new to who is Michael Bodine.
Let's see. I'm just a regular psychic kind of guy. I'm not even, I just been doing it for a really long time, almost probably 50 years, and grew up in a psychic family, and my sisters, both of them, Echo and Nikki, are both psychics, and my mom was a psychic, and, I just it wasn't something that I chose to do. I still think it's the stupidest job ever, but I know, and I know a lot of people think it's great. I just think it's stupid, but I don't have much talent in anything else. So I'm kind of stuck with it, and I'm a pretty like a general practitioner, psychic kind of guy. I'm not a medium just because mediums bug me, but my sister's a medium, so I just, that was never something of an interest to me. I mean, dead relatives show up once in a while, and then they want to talk, and I don't want to talk to them. Um,
Did something
and
happen? Like, did you just have a bad experience?
no, 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 it's just that they want to talk, and they just want to talk, and it's like they just want to talk, and they want to tell you stuff, and they want you to talk to somebody for them, or they want to do this and do that. I mean, and they don't stop, they just keep coming. And I, I have no, I don't, yeah, I don't want to do that, but I know that they're important. I know that mediums are, important because people, they can validate stuff about, life after death, um, and relatives still being around him and all that stuff. And that's really helpful, I think. But, um, I'm, once you get past that, um, for me, I wanted to know more about, like, well, what's coming up? What's going on? What's the deal? And so that was more of an interest to me than this. My house was lousy with ghosts. There was always ghosts all over the place, and I didn't want to talk to them. So I didn't. That seemed like the last thing I wanted to do was be a medium. So I had to talk to them. But I was really interested in the gray areas, like the past that people took, and the choices that they make, and how it influenced things, and all that stuff seemed interesting to me. Plus, um, I wasn't, like I say, I wasn't really into this, and I thought the best way to prove to myself that this stuff was just a bunch of crap was being wrong all the time, and so I chose it just to say, I suck, and I got lucky. Um, well, when I was learning, um, my teachers, it was a different, it was different back then. They, like every day I had to give a reading every day, and uh, I had to work at it. I couldn't just be flippant about it, which is what I normally wanted to do, but I had to, concentrate. I mean, every day they would ask me questions, and every day they could tell if I was just blowing it off or not. And, to get them off my back, I kind of, I practiced just getting the information as quick as I could, just to tell these people what the hell they wanted to know, so I could just go on with my day. And, and I got used to doing that. I mean, uh, that's the way I was kind of raised psychically, was they just rapid fired questions, and, um, like, God, every day. And I just wanted to live a normal life. My mom was doing all sorts of stuff. There was people doing seances in the house. There was things flying all over the place. It was like homework. Okay, so what's going to happen with Frank? He's going to die. Can I go watch Gilligan's Island? That kind of thing. Um, and so I got used to just getting to the bullet points of stuff, um, and that was helpful. But it wasn't because I wanted to be a great psychic. In fact, one of my nightmares was that I was going to be a psychic at my age now, and then I was going to work at some restaurant in the back, with some tattered velvet sport coat on, giving some guy readings. Oh my God, I used to have that nightmare all the time. I'd wake up just like, you know. But anyway, I, I wouldn't. There are some people that are really, into the whole, um, acknowledgement of that they're psychic and how great that is. In my opinion, I think that psychics are just messengers, delivery people, water boys. That's it. They're here to give you the information. And we're all different in how we give it, but it's really just about, they give us the information, we tell you, and that's that. It's not about the psychic. So it's not so much about, who I am. I'm just a delivery guy, really. And sometimes it's trying to figure out what the hell they're saying, because when you talk to like spirit guys uh, and dead souls and all that stuff, they're not always just like straightforward. They talk like butterflies, and you have to kind of decipher what the hell they're talking about.
Very
So
cryptic.
yeah, that could be, and everything's about a lesson, and everything's about learning this and that, and karma and this and that. And it gets, you have to really dig for, okay, what's the bottom line here? And so that can be hard. And sometimes I can suck at that, especially if I'm, in a impatient mood or something like that, I just want just give me the stuff, guys, so we can get going here. But other people are really good at that. They're really loving and they're very caring. My mother was really good at that. She could tell you you're gonna have cancer of the face, and you'd be like excited about it. She just had a way about her, and she was spooky how good she was. Um, I don't care like that. I mean, I care, but yeah. So I don't know. I'm a regular psychic kind of guy that just delivers messages kind of thing.
It's funny, right? A regular psychic kind of guy. I don't think
Yeah.
most people would think that's a regular guy. I think they
Well,
think that's really interesting and
but isn't that
very not normal.
but okay, so I know there's a lot of theatrics with the whole psychic stuff. And it is kind of fun, when they put on a show, but a lot of times it's performance artists. They're just kind of especially channelers, freaking channelers, man. They get into the whole thing, they start talking like they're that soul, and it's performance art. And I get all that, but really it's a natural thing. Everybody has it to some degree. Um, I attribute it to like some people are really good artists or math people, or they're really good with singing or whatever. Um, but everybody has those abilities to a certain extent, and I think everybody has psychic abilities to a certain extent. But some people just have it better. They have what the old folks used to call the shine. And it doesn't have to be as dramatic as everybody makes it sound. Like they don't have the music doesn't have to stop. Everybody doesn't have to listen, and it's used all the time. When people say they follow their gut, they had a feeling that women's intuition, all that kind of stuff. It's been around forever, and people use it all the time. They make it more spookier than they need to by giving it more theatrics. And I don't. What I do is like that, except it's just amplified. But even sports people, they have instincts. They just know. And um, who's to say they're not getting little voices to tell them to take a left or go straight or do this or that? This.
So how do you know the difference between intuition and like that's a spirit guide giving you direction? Or does it matter?
What? Okay, so like with me, a lot of times you'll want something. You'll like intuition to me is something that just comes out that you just kind of know. It's like you just kind of know, and we fight it. It's not necessarily something we want to hear. Like if we're in a bad relationship or something, or bad job or something, and we just have a sense that we shouldn't be there. Um, fear and apprehension and anxiety, all that stuff get in the way of that. But we know. I think intuition is. I know my sister would punch me in the face because she has it down pat because people ask her this stuff all the time. But it's um, it's just I think an intuition is just kind of a deep knowing, um, and trusting that. And it took me a long time to trust that. In fact, I'm still not 100% there, but um, for the most part, I'm there. Just because when I don't trust it, I end up screwing myself pretty good. And um, uh, I think it's just the confidence of trusting that inner voice. But I know, but I get in debates with some woo-woo people because they justify doing dumb things uh, by saying their intuition told them to do this, or their intuition told them to do that. And I don't, you know, a lot of it's not true.
Let's go back. So it was, I think, 2018 or 2019 that I went to a Reiki appointment.
Reiki.
I get out of it and I'm just kind of feeling like, I don't know what's going on. And she hands me your book, Growing Up Psychic. And I went home, Michael, and I read that book cover to cover that next day. And then I reached out to you in your contact form and you responded.
Good. Well, yeah, they tell me when to respond and when not to.
Yeah. So what do you remember about that time? Like when I first came to you and like what was going on and how you helped me? Because you helped Tom and I and our family so much.
Oh, honey, no,
About that.
well, so this is going to kind of sound like a dick thing to say, but I get a lot of requests, and I, it's not that I don't like people. I do. They're great. But I don't, you can, so I'm a future guy, and you can tell by the name whether or not the person's just curious, or, or, or they want some excuses to stay put, or they're actually going to do something. And when the people that are actually going to do something, those are the people I contact, or more likely to do something. And sometimes they'll surprise me. With you, it was, I got excited because I knew that you were on the cusp of doing some stuff. It was good timing on my part, just because you were about to go through this stuff. So it was it was exciting because you could see, I mean, they give me little quick synopsises of the person really quick. Um, and you were somebody that I was excited to talk to because of what I knew you were about to go into. I mean, the details suck for you, but for me, um, they're good because I knew the outcome was going to be good. And I was excited about it. And I was excited because, for one, I like people like you that are actually going to do this stuff. I have nothing against people that aren't. I totally get it. It's just that there's not a whole lot for me to say. There's not like, I don't know what to tell you. And I charge like $300 when I do a reading. So I can't just tell them to go knit a sweater and that'll be $300. There's gotta be something to tell them,
Right.
when I know that they're not going to do anything, or they're just going to kind of wallow or just go around in circles, which a lot of people do. And I get it. It's not good for them. It's not good for me. Honey, we can talk about anything you want.
I know you're a future guy, but I just want to go back one more time to give a little bit more context before we get too crazy here. So in growing up psychic, and I think it's your origin story and you tell it beautifully in the book.
Oh, thanks.
I loved the book. It was captivating. And for anyone listening that's new to Michael or to psychics, or even just like, what the hell is he talking about so far? I would say YouTube Michael Bodine and just get your feet wet into the world. But Michael, from you, I just want to know, like, what is one story of your childhood or one story about like when you were looking to get in, you weren't looking to get in this. When things were changing or you realized like, oh my God, this is going to be a life path for me. Like, what's either a super hilarious story that you can tell us or a completely creepy story that's like that changed things for you?
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. Uh, the first one would was probably when it very first happened for us, when I knew that everything was going to be different. Um, we're all sitting around eating dinner, and um, except for I have a relative who was downstairs practicing the drums. And we this I lived in a pretty normal house. I grew up in the suburbs. I was my mom was a stay-at-home mom. It was a really normal life. Like, it was like Happy Days basically. It was just, father knows best. It was a nice neighborhood. And my father had the house built. It was a new house, all that sort of stuff. And so he was downstairs, he was practicing the drums, and all of a sudden it sounded really tight, like really good. And we thought maybe he was putting on one of those records, how to play the drums by kind of thing, because it sounded really good. And that lasted for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And then all of a sudden we heard the drums being knocked over, and the cymbals flying all over the place, and the door slamming open, and he came running upstairs. And he was really scared. He was really scared. I was 7. He was probably 14, 13, 14. And I'd never seen him afraid before. Never. And he was pale and nervous and shaky and didn't want to talk about it. My dad, was a big guy, was like, "What the hell was that all about?" And yelling at him about, "What, did you break something? What the hell?" And he didn't want to talk about it. And my dad kept bugging him. And finally, my mom, who was really sweet, asked him to just explain what it was. And he said he was downstairs, he was playing, and he saw this guy come through the wall and park himself in front of the drums. And he just got so freaked out, he just put his head down and started playing. And that's when it sounded really good because of the adrenaline. He was just like, and he looked up, and this guy was still there, and he was just like freaking out. He had never seen anything like that, and none of us really had. And Um, and he looked up again and he was just like so scared. He just said, please leave. He didn't know what to do. I, um, and and this thing was like, oh yeah, yeah. And he just kind of acknowledged him and went through the other wall. And that's when he flew down the sticks and flew upstairs. And at the time, no, none of us believed in ghosts. Well, at least to my knowledge, none of us did. And so we all just thought, whatever. I remember thinking it was so dumb, and I thought he was just playing a joke. But also remember that there was a feeling in the air like something was watching us, something was different. And my dad just went downstairs and checked everything out. I was like, what the hell? Yelling at him. And it was just like something was weird. Something was really off. So about a week later, we were all sitting around eating dinner. And this time he was there because he didn't want to go downstairs alone. And we had this lazy Susan, and a salt shaker got up. And I mean, it got up. And we were all talking, and this thing gets up, moves across the table, and drops between my mom and my dad. And when we were eating, we were looking at it at first, and then as it was moving, we were all kind of quietly looking at it, like, what? And because it wasn't like there was organ music in the background playing or anything like that. It wasn't like it was just weird. I mean, it was just weird. And when it dropped, we all went, whoa. And again, there was that really weird feeling in the air, like something was weird or fishy. And my brothers or this guy was yelling about, see, there's something in his house, and my dad's yelling, you don't be doing that stuff. He thought he rigged something up because we all did. We thought he just rigged something up because we had been giving him so much crap about inviting his friend over for dinner, and it set the tone for just things in general. Things started happening all the time. Well, not all the time, but like you'd walk into a room and somebody would tap you on the shoulder, and then you'd turn around and nobody was there, or lights were going on and off, or somebody was underneath the stairs typing, or different incidents. Didn't happen to just one person. Sometimes it happened to two people. Sometimes it happened when you're alone. Sometimes it happened to everybody during the day, at night. It just kept happening. Things just kept happening. And I was at school most of the time, so, and in denial, because I didn't want to think about this stuff. I didn't want to have anything to do with it, really. I just thought it was too weird. But my mom was home during most of it, and she was kind of like thinking something's fishy, because things were happening to her that she wasn't telling us about, like things would move on the table, or this or that. It was something that was odd. And she went to our minister, because we went to Baptist church, and he suggested maybe that she had some feminine issues, that maybe she needs to go see a gynecologist. So she did, and the gynecologist said, no, it's, you got mental issues, you should probably go see somebody. And she went, on down the line, trying to figure out if anybody could help. My mom was raised Catholic, so she was pretty weird about all this stuff, she thought it was the devil's work, or she was taught it was the devil's work or whatever. I don't know that she thought that, but finally she got this name of a lady that, like, she was a psychologist that basically worked out of her van, Her name was Mrs. Roop. And she told my mom that she didn't think she was crazy, but that we were having psychic experiences or paranormal or occult experiences, whatever. And that she should talk to this Mrs. Olson, who lived in St. Paul. We lived in Minneapolis. This lady lives in St. Paul. And my mom, I think, felt a lot better after talking to Mrs. Roop, because she didn't feel so crazy and she didn't have to take a pap smear. So she was like feeling, she felt better about things. And so she gets home, and my mom used to collect Bibles. And I didn't know she collected Bibles, but she collected Bible. She liked the whole outer cover thing, she just liked the Bible. And so she had like 5 or 6 of them. And when she got home, they were stacked up on her bed, like just kind of not neatly stacked, but just kind of stacked. And and it kind of freaked her out a little bit. But she figured one of us had done it or something, because when I got home from school, I got yelled at for playing with their Bibles, and I had no idea what the hell she was talking about. But she yelled at all of us for playing with their Bibles. Like, don't do that. Not with all the stuff that's happening in the house. Well, don't do that. It's just don't do that. And I was like, what? I didn't even know. But she made dinner. My dad was out of town. She made dinner. We kind of talked about it, but we really, really didn't. She put the Bibles away before she made dinner. She goes upstairs to grab something and she yells, and we go up there, and the freaking Bibles are all back on the bed, just kind of stacked. And there's that weird feeling in the air. I can't describe it. It's like somebody's just looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was enough for my mom to decide to call Mrs. Olson. She wasn't really gonna, because she thought maybe that might be pushing it, with the whole Catholic stuff. But she thought, I got to do something. So she contacted Mrs. Olson. Mrs. Olson seemed to know ahead of time what was going on, and had her and my sister Echo come to her house. And that, when she got home, that was when I knew our life was never going to be the same, because my mom was excited as hell. She felt like she had a purpose. She was alive. She was excited. She was different. There was something different about her. Echo thought, we were doomed. But when I saw my mom, when she came back and she was telling us about what happened, I knew we were screwed. And it just started in earnest then, because my mom wanted to find out about other psychics. And back then, it was a mental illness, the psychic stuff, if schizophrenic or something. And so psychics were kind of underground, not kind of, they were underground. And so she had to do some digging and checking, and she found this church where these people hung out in the basement, and they're all kind of odd and eclectic, kind of strange people, but they had this thing. And she started inviting them to the house, and it just snowballed from there. And there's this lady that my mother befriended that loved my mom and my sister, Echo. Her name was Birdie, and she was like maybe 7,000 years old. I don't know. She was just an old lady. She had like one tooth, really extremely psychic, just knew stuff, old soul. And she loved my mom, and she was always at the house, and she kind of was our teacher. And then there was all sorts of different other kind of people. And it changed. Everything changed from when my mother got back from Mrs. Olson, because she described all the stuff that was going to happen to our family, that we were going to be known for what we do. And 3 of the 4 kids were going to do it. And my mom, she embraced it, because she was, she was a strong woman. And this is like she found a niche. She found something that she connected to, like the whole Mother Earth thing, the Mother Mary stuff. She loved Mother Mary. Yeah, and as she went, the family went. My dad was gone a lot. And then when, at first my father had a real problem with it, because he thought the people in the house, he didn't like psychics, because he just didn't like them. But she was, no, they're my friends. They're going to come. It's okay. They had big fights about it. And then finally, one day they were playing chess. My dad played chess a lot. And one of the chess pieces got up and just moved across the table and fell on the ground. And my dad said, "Fuck it, I'm out. I'm done." And
he left?
He left. He was done. He just packed his bags and he left. And then when he left, my mother had some of these people move in. And it just got even worse after that. It was tense. It was tense with my dad there, but at least there was a sheriff on patrol. When he left, everything was different.
The rails were off.
Oh my God. Yeah. So
you mentioned this a little bit, Michael, like you grew up with religion, your mom grew up Catholic, like
yeah.
I grew up. And I think, and then you also mentioned that like everybody's psychic to a point, right? And so like,
yeah, I
guess I remember hearing things like you're making that up, or like, kids having imaginary friends. Are they spirits? Or
right.
are people just turning it off young because it is the devil or the witch, or like, where is God in all of this?
Okay, so I'm not a fan of religion. I think religion is probably the darkest thing because it's all about control and power and money. I'm not a fan of religion, so I'm probably not the best person to talk to about all that. I have problems with the Bible just because what they didn't include and the things that
Like,
how they treat people. Yeah, I'm just a ton of stuff. I mean, you could go on. Yeah, and so I'm probably not. I'm a little biased when it comes to that stuff. And what made me start thinking about that, up until that point, I had no problem with the Bible and the people. I thought it was a little odd that the people that didn't accept Jesus were going to go to hell. 'Cause I couldn't understand that whole concept. If this thing was so loving, why would that be? But you know, I was a kid. I believed in a lot of stuff. What bothered me was when religious people came to the house and accused us of being black magic witches and doing all that stuff. And um, it's my mom and it's my mom's friends who were very, really, really nice. And they weren't looking for money and they weren't looking to, you didn't have to bow to them to be accepted by them. They were good people. So these people that were attacking me, I started to question them and started wondering, okay, why are you doing this? And that's why I'm so anti-religion, is because of how they treated me and what they say is it's just not true. It's just not true. And I mean, the Book of Enoch. I mean, there's so much stuff that they didn't do and put in the Bible, whatever. And I believe that God's in us. That I believe that I believe that Jesus was trying to say that all along. That God's in us. It's not out there. It's within us. And I really believe that. So I I'm not a big, I'm not a big person of religion, but I've had experiences of my own that spiritual experiences where I just know that there's a power out there. I know it, and if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter to me. And but I know it, and I know that you can tap into it. And I think everybody can tap into it, and I think everybody has that option. I just think that I think religion tries to control you and tries to control your thinking so that it can stay in power and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't think that's the way to go.
Well, and there's a lot of fear-based acceptance with that too.
Right. And I get that. Yeah, I get that. Because if you let that go, then what's going to happen? Who's going to take care of them and all that kind of stuff. But I think that people, I just know it. That it's right there. And I've seen a lot of darkness around a lot of religious people because of that fear. And I've always thought if their God is so strong, why are they so afraid? And if he's all caring and understanding, why do you have to pray? Because they know, and why do we have to? Why if we think about him all the time, why do we have to build these little houses for him and all that? Just weird stuff, it just never made sense. And
yeah,
but I see a lot of the when people have attacked us, it took me a while, but it just seemed like you say, it was all fear-based stuff. They couldn't deal with the possibility of it. And why not? If their God's so strong, they don't have to worry about me. I'm nothing.
So I wanted to shift gears and do something a little different or fun. Like, just when you say dead guys too, like for someone that doesn't like the medium effort, like you're always talking about dead guys. I'm assuming that you say that as spirit guide.
Well, so part of that's because of my lack of reverence for some of this stuff. Some of it, I think that people take it way too seriously. So I say dead guys as kind of as sort of a throw off line. I think that, again, if you approach it with this kind of heavy handed kind of spirit guides are right there, it gives you the power and not your guides. Whether you go to a psychic or not, they try and talk to you. I think psychics are trying to help you, but whether you go to a psychic or not, they're still trying to talk to you. There's a force out there, and that's trying to help you, go along the path. And some people, it's easier for them to see it as guides, and that's the way that I visualize it. But I see like energies around people. But people can interpret it in any way they want. It's just, that's the way I see it. A dead guy to me is like somebody that's, passed recently or in the last 20 years or something, or like, a newly deceased soul, um, something that you see at a hospital, leaving the soul, or um, uh, God, like I was at a Target one time, and it was really cold, and and we and it was dusk, and I was I and something just kept telling me to go to Target, and I didn't want anything at Target. I was like, no, I really don't want to go. But they said, just go to Target, go to Target, go to Target. So I said, fine, I'll go to Target. So I go to Target, and I'm behind this ambulance, which I thought was great because I could cut through all the stuff because I just followed them. Um, and I get there, and this ambulance is going to Target. So it pulls in, and I come in behind it, and I park, and I notice that these guys, somebody had fallen or something outside, right outside the door, and these medics are out there, and I get out of the car, and I'm walking towards the door, and I'm just kind of curious. So I'm walking towards the door that it all happened, and there's a crowd of people around, and this and they're just jumping on him, and they're trying to get his heart going, and and they're freaking out. They're trying as hard as they can. They put him on the gurney, and they wheel him into the ambulance, and you can hear these guys just still trying to figure it out, And everybody's just kind of, you could tell something bad happened, something really bad happened, either a heart attack or something, but it was bad. And it was quiet. It was really still. And there was just a couple more, everybody kind of dispersed, and there was a couple people that were just hanging around, just kind of like, wow, that was something. And I looked at this guy, and I was like, what happened? Because he was looking like, wow. And I thought maybe he knew the guy. And then he walked up to the back of the ambulance, and I thought, oh yeah, he must know this guy. And then I realized that was the guy, because he was wearing the same clothes. He had the same pants on and the same coat, but he didn't know that he was dead. And he's looking at me like, what do I do? And I didn't know. I was just kind of like caught up. And there was another lady there that had skin that also could see him, but she was like an older lady, and she just looked at me, and she crossed herself, and like, this guy's a soul or something. But I felt so bad for this guy, because I could feel all his stuff, like his life was over in an instant, like just like that. And there's no going back. There's nothing he can do. And he goes into the back of the ambulance, and the ambulance didn't speed off to the hospital. It just turned off its lights and just went away. Like, obviously the guy didn't make it, because they weren't in a hurry to get there. But that to me is a dead guy. Long story to get to what my point is, but like, a newly minted dead guy. That was a dead guy.
Okay, Mandy here. So we had a pause here. Michael was so patient with us. We have had tech issues for the last month, pretty hardcore. And I am 100% convinced that these have been spiritually induced, if you will, and very hard for me to get recordings out and done and captured, and just tons and tons of noise issues. Michael experienced that firsthand with us, trying to get on, and issues with recording and stuff. So we had to use Zoom to record this. So if you've been noticing that the audio is a little bit different, we're well aware, and we just don't know how to overcome it right now, but we're doing the best that we can. So Michael was patient. So about the first 30, 40 minutes of my time with him was spent trying to overcome IT issues. And I'm just so thankful that he held on with me through the interview. But I guess long story short, we were using Zoom, and it was an unpaid account. So it had to be like under 40 minutes. And so we had to stop here. And then he texted me that he had a celebrity reading, and she's recording on a movie and on a short break. And so he would call me after the reading. So he had to go to a reading, and then we hopped back on. So we're going to hop into now our part 2, if you will. Do you have a good reading?
Yeah, it was a little longer than I thought. It was, yeah. But yeah, a lot of questions. People have so many questions, but yeah. Yeah.
So we had to take a brief pause because Michael had a reading with a celebrity. Do you want to say anything about celebrity readings, Michael?
Celebrity readings. Okay, so I got into celebrity readings boy, when I was a kid, the, I was I was doing readings downtown Minneapolis, and in this place called the Warehouse District, and it was where all the artists and all these people hung out, and it was fun to talk to them because they kind of took it with a grain of salt, and I liked that they weren't they were just kind of curious about it all, um and they were just interesting, they were just interesting. You could sit at a bar and you could sit and talk about stuff, and I didn't want to do readings where it was all really quiet and still, and you gave water to spirit and all that stuff. I just didn't want to do that because that's the way it was, growing up. So any place that was loud or kind of nutty was great for me. So I worked down there, and one of the people that I worked with was this choreographer kind of guy. Just he would go from New York to Minneapolis, and New York, Minneapolis, and he was just an interesting guy, and I liked him. And back then I was real blunt with people and just kind of a jerk, really, just because it was my nature. And he handed me the phone one time, and he goes, "Oh, you got to talk to my friend Bob." And I said, "I don't want to talk to your friend Bob." And he goes, "No, no, no, you got to talk to my friend Bob." So he hands me this call, or this guy Bob, and I'm talking to him, and it was like a whole different vibe. It was like, wait a second, this guy's interesting. There's some really cool stuff about him, and he was very tight-lipped. He didn't want to really. He just he says, "Hey, so you're a psychic or what?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm psychic. What?" I thought he was going to say something stupid like, "Are you a psycho or something?" But he didn't. He says, "So, what do you think? What do you think is it going to be a good future?" And I says, "That's kind of a stupid question. What do you mean about your future? Like everything, dentistry, everything?" Um, and he thought that was funny, and he said, "No, no, about I got a show. Is it going to be okay?" And it was weird because I I I really liked this guy. The thing I liked about him, because he was going to do a bunch of stuff, and I could feel like he was going to actually do some stuff. Like he was really going to do it. He wasn't going to sit and hope for it or pray for it, or he was going to do it. It's like he had to do it. It was like if he didn't, he was going to die. And he was weird, and he was a drug addict, and he was a sex addict, and he was all sorts of things. But I really liked him because um, I knew he was going to do the stuff that he was supposed to do. He could have died. There was a chance he might kill himself in the process, but the energy was completely different. It was a guy named Bob Fosse. He was a choreographer, all that jazz guy. Anyway, he, I, I didn't know it was Bob Fosse until later when I got off the phone, because I was talking to my friend Chris about it, and I said, "Boy, I really like that guy." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's Bob Fosse." And I was doing some dancing. I knew who Bob Fosse was, so I was. That's the first person that I ever talked to that was famous, or at least that I thought was famous. And then Bob told other people, and it was all word of mouth from there, and it just um, doing readings for celebrities is for me, uh it works better because, not because they're great people, because they're not. It's um it, it's because I know that the opportunities that come in their life they're going to take no
Yeah.
matter what. And most people don't do that, like most people, an opportunity comes, they'll find reasons not to do it, or they don't think they deserve it, or they're afraid of it, or whatever. It doesn't matter. They just won't do it. And or they think they'll do it another time, and they never do. But these guys, they got to take them. They got to do them. And for the most part, they're not that great a person, but they're driven in a different way. And so that for me it works out, because I know if I see something coming up, I know they're going to take it, and then I know what's going to happen as a result, or what's likely to happen. And so it works. It For what I do, for my skill set, it works better. It's not because I was chasing actors. In fact, I wanted to be an actor at one point in my life, just because I thought I just love that whole idea of not being in reality, because reality just whatever. But then I started talking to these people, and I didn't. I ended up not liking actors as much, just because they were, divishes, ego and all that kind of stuff. But I ended up working with them. So, And it's not like you're a better psychic if you're talking to an actor. They don't, their bar isn't higher than others. It's not, they all have like two or three psychics that they talk to, and it's not like it really doesn't make you any better. Some people like to talk about their resume of the different actors or different producers or directors that have done. It doesn't matter. In fact, one might say that it's kind of a surfacey thing to do, or kind of a not as deep. My mother used to give me crap for it because she thought it was just dumb that I was doing all these actors and stuff. But she was all about life's meaning and the importance of this and that, blah blah blah. And I just didn't want it to be as heavy as all that. Everything
Right.
didn't, yeah, it was just a little thick. So I do actors or actresses or producers or writers and stuff like that because of my skill set, not because of what they do. And in fact, it's been disappointing sometimes because some of the people that I grew up watching and I do a reading for, it's like, yeah, it kind of wrecks it. And if I'm watching a movie and there's somebody that I've done in the movie, it kind of wrecks it for me. And or an interview or something like that. It wrecks kind of things a little bit. So
Do you
it's
pick up
not
on vibes, even like watching a movie, even if they're not asking you stuff, right? Like know where they're going or what they're going to be faced with?
well, a lot of times the questions that they have are based on a movie that they're doing or something like with like a co-star or a director or a writer. They're having trouble with this or that, or they're having trouble with their role, and are they going to be able to do it, or are they going to be able to get along with their co-star, or are they not going to be able to get along with their co-star? Like sometimes in a love interest movie, like they're very much in love at the movie, and then when there's a wrap, when it's done, they still feel those things, and it's gets complicated because that other person might be involved with somebody and blah blah blah, um and that's my bread and butter stuff. So when I see the movie, I- um I'm usually talking to them while they're doing it, so it kind of just wrecks the whole suspension of disbelief thing,
Sure.
because but again, it's not um it doesn't make me better or anything. It's just they
A niche you've fallen into kind
yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah. I just
Yeah.
got into it. Yeah. I'm a real big believer in that we're all here to learn lessons, that everybody here is here to learn, that there's nobody that is better or special, or I think some people are really gifted in certain areas and they could be very helpful to other people, but I think it's kind of like dum-dum school, like the earth is just it's a tough place just because of how we are to each other. We're really mean and the way we treat people. And well, the climate that's going on now, the stupidity and all that stuff, they say that it's a very fundamental planet. It's a very fundamental emotional planet. And then as soon as you figure it out, or what you're here to figure out, then you die. Um
Do you
they
believe
say.
that? That when you
Well,
figure it out, you're done?
I kind of do. I mean, I've seen it with people. I think sometimes when it's obvious that you're not going to figure it out, then you go too. Um,
So then
and
people that are like living to 100, what's
I think they must have done something terrible in their past life. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like this place is all about learning, and it seems to be a lot about emotional stuff. Because there's some people that are really smart intellectually, and they have great debates and all that stuff, but they suck at emotional stuff. Or people that are just overly emotional can't handle anything intellectual. Or everybody that you look at, everybody that you admire, they all have secrets and they all have darkness to them. They're all struggling
yeah,
with stuff.
the
Um,
shadow side, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's tough. But
So your one niche is celebrity readings, and then
yeah,
your
yeah.
other niche is future readings. And I
Right,
know that
right.
this is really what gets you going. So I am just curious, Michael, like, do you see the future for like humanity or the world
Oh,
collectively, or is it really individual in terms of how you see the future?
yeah. There's some people that see they're world psychics, which sucks for them because if they feel stuff all the time. They're the kind of people that stay in the basement with aluminum foil over their head, because
Yeah.
it's just too much. I'm not that deep of a guy, so I keep it pretty to the person. It's just that there's something about not being able to control a lot of that stuff, you know. But I mean, I can see little things, but I know there's people that are just they're really good at the whole world stuff. They can uh but I also know that most of those people are not the happiest people on the planet. You know, they're constantly stressed. They're constantly just they look like they just been up all night long, you know.
For
Um and
sure.
I and I
I
feel
think
bad
it's
for
because
them.
the world feels so heavy right
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't want that. Yeah,
now.
it's I'm not that dedicated to what I do. In fact, when I decided that this is what I was going to do, I was like, no, I'm going to do it this way. It's going to be nice and simple. If I got to do this stuff, then I want to do something that's interesting to me. And I'm not. Um, there was a as I was growing up, there was a bunch of people, like I said, that came to the house and were staying at the house, and they all had different gifts. And there was a couple world psychics, and they were always just freaking depressed. They were always depressed. And I just didn't want that. I didn't want that. And I think I probably could have gotten into that, but I just, no way, Jose. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess just collectively, the right, and I've texted you about this a couple of times, and you haven't responded, which always tells me that I have to figure it out on my own.
It was really funny. Yeah. Sorry
But
about that.
I just am grappling with this personally so much is like
Oh, what, honey?
AI, right?
Oh,
Like,
I know. My son's
what is
crazy
the
about that stuff.
role that AI is playing? Like, do you look at AI as like an actor or a tool or like the fall of society? Like, I just don't know what to do with it.
Well, okay. So it's kind of a rabbit hole because there's the psychics or the people that I talked to that, you know, the ASF, they've talked about AI, years ago, and they talked about it being a detriment, to humanity. And but okay, so you got to remember too that ever since I was a kid, there has been uh, deadlines of the end of the world. There's been probably 10 or 11 different cement carved in stone days where that was it.
Y2K, the Mayan
Y2K,
calendar.
right? All these different things, and this is the end of it, end of times, and so I got kind of weary of that kind of stuff. But they said the same thing about AI back in the day that when I was learning about all this stuff was that artificial intelligence was going to come, it was going to appear to be friendly and helpful and then turn and blah blah blah. And it just I have to believe that we're going to find a way to balance that out somehow. But from what I understand, it's not great. It's not it potentially could be darker than what people are saying. But again, I I can't really subscribe to that stuff because I can't I see where there is a balance and that it does work out. Even though right now, I don't know, right now it seems like it's not working out at all with at least with our country and all that stuff. But it's I thought the purpose of all the stuff that was happening was for people to empower themselves a little bit more, see the light, over the darkness, blah blah blah. But it seems to be it seems to be getting a little worse. But I don't know, honey. The AI stuff, I stayed out of it because it had that same. They talked about it in the same way that they talk about like the end of the world, or they
Yeah.
used to, and
No, I
it's
get
not
that.
great. And I think if I got into it, I'd probably be depressed. So I just don't. My son, who's got a lot of ability, he's just, he's trying to slap me around, going, "Look, you got to understand, this is bad stuff. This is bad stuff." But he also really likes it. So I don't know.
Well,
Um,
let me ask you this then. So, because we have
yeah,
listeners that are feeling the weight of the world, right? So, like,
yeah, yeah.
and
Poor
you're a
things.
future guy. So, like, what would
Yeah.
your public service announcement be to the average listener right now that's just like, well, I can't just avoid it because I feel it, Michael. So, like, what would you,
Well, that's just it. That old saying. Um, the two wolves thing. About the one's fear and despair, and one's enlightenment and optimism, and which one's stronger, and it's the one you feed. It's that kind of thing. I think there is a temptation to always go dark. It's really easy to. It doesn't take much. I think the temptation for people is to not. And I don't mean walk naked through the daffodils all the time, but I mean like, having a more uh, the optimism does beat the darkness a lot of times, but it's just so much easier to go dark. And I don't I think that's the challenge with being strong about the light instead of just like I say, just kind of meek about it. I don't know, honey. I know that the darkness wins by stupidity and fear and ignorance and all that kind of stuff. And the weight of the world, I wouldn't want to feel that, but I couldn't. I'd have to find a way to change it or see the positive of it and see the reasons for it. Because there does seem like, as dark as it is, there is this other light. I know there is. I've felt it. I've seen it, and it's just a little bit harder to see when you're, so afraid.
So
And
just don't let it in.
you
Keep
can't. I
focused
mean,
on
you
the
can't.
positives.
Well, and
Look for the beauty.
I know that sounds stupid, like people are going to be, they're just going to be like in denial. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy a lot of times with these people when they just feel that they can't get away from it. And they just become that, it's like they become pigpen with negativity. They can't break it. And um I there's nothing you can do. I mean, individually, I suppose, to change all the negativity in the world, but you can change it around you and the people around you, and not um entertain the people around you that are really into it. It's tough to be around somebody that's really negative all the time,
Yeah.
and recognizing that and kind of eliminating it out of your life does really help. Um, I can't do it. I've lost a lot of people because of all the climate, like politically and emotionally, with all the stuff that's been going on. I've lost a lot of people just because I I can't deal with a lot of it.
I think that's true for so many people right now, though. Like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of division happening. And I don't necessarily want to get into politics, but I guess I
yeah,
think what I'm hearing, Michael, is that you're not as much of a collective futurist because it is doomy and gloomy and it's heavy and it's a
yeah,
lot.
it's
So
heavy.
you're
Yeah.
more of an individual futurist.
I am, but I was also, back then. So I we used to go to these camps when I was a kid. My mom used to drag me to these camps, these psychic camps, and because there weren't psychics everywhere, they were hidden, and so you'd have to drive forever and all over the place, and in these wooded areas, and they'd be all outside like freaking gypsies, but they all had different themes. Like one of them was about nature spirits or extraordinary things, or whatever. They had different themes, fairies and all that stuff, or other ones were about different things and different. And I remember going to one where it was about life, Earth, and how it what's the word, it cycles. It goes like every 7 years or something like that. I don't know, I didn't really pay attention, but it was mostly about how we go through really light, and then it like cycles, and we're just in one of those dark cycles, but it does come back up. And and I think the value of all that was how you handle it, how you handled um being in or surrounded by this darkness, being surrounded by all this heaviness. Did you handle it well? Could you handle it well? It's easy to handle things when everything's light and all that stuff, but could you handle it? And did you handle it? And I've made an ass out of myself more than once. Um, but uh, that's the only way it seems like I learn, is just making constant mistakes, and then realizing, I can't do that anymore. And so I think that's one of the benefits of going through this little dark stuff, is that you learn maybe to shut your mouth, or maybe I needed to shut my mouth a few times and just learn how to roll with it and not take it so seriously and blah blah blah.
Sure.
Because I do know it all kind of goes up and down. I mean, I don't recommend people do the world psychic stuff, because geez, that's just too hard. I mean,
Yeah.
really, it's just too much. But you can't escape a little of it, because when you're doing people, even just one person future wise, you can feel how they're going to be going through those little cycles, and part of it's because of the environment. Like some of the people I do are political, and either side doesn't matter, and what they're going through, and how it's affecting them, and how it's changing their foundation and all that kind of stuff. Um, it's interesting, it's interesting to see how they're handling it. Some aren't handling it great, some are. Some are finding their voice that they never had. Some are losing their voice that they always thought they had. Um, it's kind of interesting to see what's happening.
Yeah. So you're talking about readings, you're talking about the future and how you
Yeah,
go more towards individual. Would you be open to
right.
giving like a 4 or 5 minute reading on me and maybe a little bit one on Tom?
Sure. Well, what do you want
Not
to
like a
know?
full one, just like a,
Right.
I think people are like, what do you get in a reading? Like what do you talk about? What do you see?
Oh, well, okay. So,
I don't
well,
know that a lot of listeners have had a reading before.
okay. So, first of all, not everybody needs a read. It's one of those deals where um, readings were basically set up to kind of help people get through a certain period of their life. Maybe they're going through something, maybe they don't see anything, maybe they're just struggling with any kind of thing. And so readings can be helpful, or they can be helpful with uh like I said earlier, or in the other one, about um, establishing that there is life after death, or maybe that there is souls, and maybe that there is another place or possible place that people go after this, or maybe there isn't really a death, but it's just a transformation, all that kind of stuff. And it can be helpful for that. Or sometimes people are struggling here, and I'm not a big past life guy, but I know that some past lives do come into play in this lifetime. Like my sister is deathly afraid of fire, and I think part of that is because she was probably burnt at stake. Um, yeah, but and I think sometimes people they bring with them stuff that they carried from other lifetimes, and so sometimes psychics that are really into the past life jazz can help with all that. I think they're just they're supposed to help. They're supposed to aid in your stuff that you're learning. But not everybody needs a reading. Some people are just curious, and there's nothing to say. There's just like not always, spirit doesn't always talk to me about stuff. That doesn't always give me answers, or sometimes I've done readings for people and they got nothing to say. It's because I either suck, or they're I'm not supposed to say anything to them because they got some stuff that they're supposed to figure out on their own. And I, so yeah, the readings are, when people go in to get readings, I'm amazed that some of these psychics just do anybody, because I don't think everybody just needs readings. So like with you, what the hell, what do you want to know?
Well, there's a lot of change brewing right now. So like I think, and this is what Tom and I were talking about while you were on your celebrity reading, is like we just don't know if what we're feeling is like collective pressure or just the fact that there is a lot of like chaos and change brewing in our own home. Like
Okay.
we have felt like we are ready for a move. Like we've always felt like this farm is temporary. Like we were only
Right.
supposed to be here for about a year.
Right.
And the
Which
last
we
time I
talked
talked to you,
about.
told me it was like a boot camp for us. And
Yeah.
that made so much sense.
But the next part is gonna suck because you may not like it, because you're pretty much done with the boot camp thing. When we were talking off before we started, and you were saying that you really like it, and you got the kids, the horses and all that stuff, I
Yep.
felt bad because it's time to it's going to be time to sort of jump back in, you might say. It's not your, um, if I'm going to give you, if I was going to give you a reading, I would suggest that you get yourself ready, because I think people are going to, um, how do I say it? It's like you're going from one place to the other, and they're looking for you to kind of start packing. You don't have to hurry up. It's not like it's all going to change overnight, but maybe get yourself ready. Both of you guys get yourself ready to kind of detach. You can maybe keep the place in case that's what you want to come to, but your days are numbered basically from uh, where you are. And I think I know you're, I don't want to say slow, but you're a little stubborn on some stuff, or they have to kind of like tap you on the head. And I think I don't think I think you're more open. I think you guys are both more open now. Yeah, but if I was your psychic advisor, you can see, that you're getting ready to get going. Maybe not, maybe like by the first of the year, it starts to get more and more like this is kind of like they're just trying to whisper in your ear, pack a little bit of this, pack a little bit of that, get yourself ready. Just they haven't got the thing all set up yet for where they want to take you. Um, but they just want you kind of on call, like, a fireman before a fire. But it's not a bad thing. It's not like a fire's coming, but they want you mobile, or at least emotionally mobile. And because, your days are numbered. Uh, Not live wise, but I mean, their wise, and they have to kind of whisper it in your ear. But you guys are kind of spazzes when it comes to that stuff. So when you hear that, or when you start to sense it, you start to try and figure out the answer right away. And that's the problem with this thing is the answers aren't going to present themselves until like the first of the year. And you're Action Jackson people. So it might just feel a little uncomfortable, but as long as you kind of know, that as long as they can just plant that seed with you guys, that's all they're looking for. Or you can just be surprised when it starts to happen and be a little bit unprepared. But if you're talking to a psychic, they're gonna remind you of this up and coming change, coming up. Because it is, anybody can see it. It's pretty,
We feel it. We've
yeah,
been like what I've been calling nesting for like 2 years,
yeah,
where
yeah,
like even today we were like donating, decluttering, organizing,
right,
packing. Like I've been telling everybody we're moving, and they're like, "Where?" We're like, "We don't know.
right. And it
We're
comes,
moving though. I can feel it."
yeah,
So what
yeah,
am I
well,
not
you
getting?
no, 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 you're doing it. You're doing it. It's just they're it's the when it starts to come, um it, it's going to seem too natural. It's going to seem too matter of fact. You might be looking for a bigger, more grandiose kind of departure, and this is kind of a natural thing. It's a transformation. It's like a natural place. It's like you're called into, maybe it's Tom that's called in to help somebody, and you kind of got to go take over for somebody, and it just kind of evolves, and then more people come in and they kind of surround you, and then you're kind of in this other life. It gets really busy. Um, there's a lot of different people coming at both of you guys, and it's not just the packing that they want to kind of prepare you for, it's the emotional state of mind, like your readiness, your for when you're answering questions about stuff, and just getting you ready emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually for this thing. I mean, you can physically be ready, but it's just it's like it's the beginning of a thunderstorm, and you can just kind of see a little rumblings. That's all, and it starts to pick up speed, and then like I say, by January, I think, yeah, 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 it's pretty fast. It happens. I mean, there's more stuff that happens, and it's uh, they could pluck it out harder. They could just tweak it, and that's what they're looking for. Just a little tweak job.
When
And
you say
and
thunderstorm, like is this a bad?
no, 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 no. It's an energy. The only reason I said energy or thunderstorm is because there's an energy behind it. No, it's not a. It's not. There is no value in you guys going under, or it's not about testing you guys or going through turmoil. That's not, you've already been through a lot of that stuff. You already know. It's not, it's really about service to others, being called into service. And um you guys will probably get uh you're so used to being with each other, which is great. And it's the bond is really strong. It's all really good. But now when you're called in service, you're going to be called individually, not as a couple. I mean, you might be a couple times as a couple, but it's mostly uh, if there is a weirdness, it's just because you're both busy doing your own stuff. You still have the connection, and it's still all there, and it's just that you're both going to be busy doing other things, and you'll meet up after a long day's work, and then you'll reconnect, and then you'll go off and you'll do your stuff. It's that kind of stuff. So that's a little different for you guys. Um, but it's what you signed up for. It
Do
seems
you
like.
feel like it's in Iowa or is it going somewhere else? We feel like
Uh
we're being called like driftless, like Wisconsin.
yeah, the cheese state. Um, well, it's not. No, it's not Ohio. It's not Iowa. No, no. That place was really just. Uh, they worked some kinks out for you. They got some bugs worked out. Um, they formulated. They bonded you guys, really well. Did all that stuff. Um, no, yeah, it is. Yeah. You're going to be kind of drifting up. Well, okay. There's some stuff in Wisconsin, but there's other pulls too. You're being pulled in different directions, not emotionally from each other, but just vocationally, by other people. So it's kind of all over,
Because
which is
Tom's put in his notice, like he's done working
nice.
at the end of November. So he's really trying to figure out like where am I going? Where am I applying for? Where like
Yeah, he's not going to get any of that stuff yet.
he
Um,
hasn't been and he's been
no,
feeling like what the hell, And
so I don't blame him, but he's doing great. He's doing exactly what they're asking him to do. I mean, he's trusting that there's something else going on here, and that's fucking great. Excuse my language. He is. He's doing great. That's exactly what they want him to do.
what does he
And
look for then? That's kind of where he's
no,
confused.
they
Like
they present him. They come to him. It's not. It's um, and they come to him through ideas, through people, through opportunities. It's not like he's going to look in the paper and get it that way. It's um, they're asking him to be on standby because then when they do present it, he's just going to jump at it. He's not going to waste a lot of time thinking about it. He's putting himself in that position so that he's more open to the opportunity, which is great. That's great. You want that. Tom's a good boy.
yeah, he's great. And that's why it's been so hard to get all these no's. But we are also, I just keep telling him it's only going to take one yes for everything to
Oh
change.
yeah. No, it's not. It's, and I think part of it too is that he's going to be helping a lot of people, and some people can't deal with no's, and they also can't deal with people being all rah rah and positive unless they've been through it. And he's going through it, and it's going to be very helpful because of that. It's adding a little sage to him. So that's good. No, I mean, I'm not actually worried about Tom. I think he's doing great. He can get nervous or get freaked out, and I'm not really worried about you either. I just it's not that long of a time for him to get too discouraged. I mean, he's not going to be kind of just wondering for like a year or even 6 months. Let's say add it up. That's my guy. Uh, it's not that long. It's really not. Um, um, I'd say 4 months, maybe. Well, no, January, no, September, October, November, December. Yeah. 4 months, yeah.
So
It's
will
gonna be
that kind of
before that.
inform the move then? Or that's where
Yeah,
we're just kind of
yeah.
like, what hits? Like, what do you do to make a decision like this? Because it feels like everything is up in the air from like how we make money to where we go,
But
what
sweetie, it
we're doing.
is. It is. It's all that stuff is up in the air. But okay, you signed up for some really weird stuff. And
Like,
it,
what?
well, to help people and do all that kind of stuff. And have faith and trust and blah blah blah. Um, well, the only way you're going to be able to be as effective is to go through some of this stuff. And it, it sucks to be you. I totally get it because it's not as definite. It's it's not as clear cut as okay, do this, do that, do this. Because you really would. It's the waiting and the uncertainty that most people give up on when if most people, if they're in your position, would go nuts. They couldn't deal with it. But because you are in that position and you're handling it as well as you are, you're going to be able to help a lot of these people get over that. You'll be able to look them in the eye and say, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've been there. Yeah, I mean, when they come up with you with every excuse as to why they couldn't do it, you can look at these people and say, oh yeah, I've been there. I know exactly what you mean. We didn't know what the hell we were doing either. And then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. And um, it's it's that kind of stuff that is invaluable to people. They can read about it in books, they can hear about it in songs and all that kind of stuff, but unless they've been through it, um, unless they've talked to somebody that's been through it, it doesn't have the same impact. And they're not really worried about the timing is such that it's not that long, but it's long enough that it's going to make you feel a little mental. Um, but they're also your answers are going to come through some other people. Like it's going to surprise you. Somebody's talking about somebody maybe that's not even that deep is going to be talking to you about some product or movement or some sort of something or other, and it's going to really excite you, and you're going to reach out and you're going to talk to these people, and they're going to respond to you, and it sort of snowballs. Um, it's one of those things that sucked for me because I can't. It won't make sense until you go through it. It's much easier when it's laid out. That's, but I have to say that when it's laid out, those are generally for people that are in the beginning stages of learning stuff because they need training wheels at first. And I mean, the good news is that you don't need training wheels, but the bad news is you don't need training wheels. So, um, it, it, this next phase is, it's all about knowing, trusting yourself, not some psychic or anything else, but trusting yourself. And you're doing that. I mean, you're doing it. And that's great.
Are
That's
there any blocks you see in my way? Or when you said I'm stubborn, like what am I
No, well,
not
you're
getting?
stubborn, but you're much more pliable than you were. I mean, you have a tendency to put your head down and just keep going,
Yeah. That
And
happened here at the farm with us for like 4 years.
right, but it worked it out. You sanded a lot of those edges off. I mean, you did great. I mean, that's the boot camp that we talked about. That's what it was about for you, was sanding some of those edges, and you are. And you're so much different. You can even see it in you. You're still a spaz. Don't get me wrong, but you're so much. You're smoother. And the place that you're in right now would have freaked you out 4 years ago. It would just made you nuts. Or Tom, just quitting that would
Sure.
have freaked you out. It would have been like, what
Yeah.
the are you thinking about? You can't do that. But I'm not saying it's as seamless, but you are doing a lot better, you
Thank
know,
you.
and then your body's doing a lot better. You're not retaining a lot of stuff. You're not holding a lot. I mean, you're doing a lot better all around with it. And I think that's why you're going to this next phase because it's time. It's just time to take all that stuff that you learned and learn some more. And
Thank you, Michael. You gave us a lot of confidence and helped us with a lot of that. And I realized that last year when I reached out after I listened to the reading that you did give me, and I was like, God, it feels like you're talking to me today, right now. And then I was like, wait, I haven't talked to Michael in like 3 years. I've really handled a
I
lot
know
on my
you
own. And
have
I was
on
like
your own.
super excited.
But that's like porn for me that you're doing that. I get excited about that. That
Thank
you
you.
don't, that, yeah, because you're doing it. You're figuring it out. And so is Tom. You guys are doing it. And
Can
that's,
we
hey,
talk about the farm for a second?
I love the farm.
The farm's fun. There was an energy here. In episode 5, I talked about
Right,
like a man was murdered here and
right.
was actually related to me, like on both sides of my family. So,
Oh,
like, Tom and I are really convinced that we were here for so many reasons, but one
well,
of
yeah.
them really being like ancestral karma.
Hmm.
Um, like, do you get a vibe on the farm, or like, is there
I mean, I've
like the
always felt
resident
like,
energy here, or like, what is it?
yeah, I don't know that they would be as effective with somebody else. I mean, somebody else could move there and not even think anything of it. But I think for you, it's exactly what I've always felt at the boot camp thing, because you had to get trained in all sorts of different areas, uh, not just one, but they needed to do everything in a short, condensed period of time. So for you, and the research you did, I mean, you did great. Yeah, no, it was just all about um, busting you guys. It's been a hard place, honey. I know it's nice, but it's hard. That place,
Yeah.
the Devil's Workshop, for God's sake, that's just the gateway to hell. It's been hard for you there, and you guys have figured it out. But now, you're going to graduate soon. It was designed for you to kind of get all those edges fixed. I mean, including the spirits and the dead guys, and you handled that pretty well too. And to have that connection to your family, you couldn't ignore it because it's family. It's in you. So if you think about it, they did a really good job. They set up the obstacle course really well.
Yeah. I mean, what do you feel like the resident energy here is like the man that was murdered, or like
Oh,
is
oh,
it
yeah, yeah,
Native
yeah.
American
Well,
or
yeah, no,
interterrestrial?
there's a
Like, what
bunch of
is
stuff.
it?
Okay, so part of it was there was a guy, excuse me, there was a guy there. Let's see if I remember what it did take the carry the one. I think with okay, so imagine a stage and they open up the stage and they can bring in all sorts of different players, meaning different dead guys. I think because there was you almost had permission to do stuff. I God, I'm not explaining that. I know, I know. Because of what they wanted you to learn, that the person that died there, the land is violent. The it's in the land, it's in everything, and they could kind of open up all the doors for everybody to kind of come in. So it's not just one soul, and there is an angry guy there, but there's some Native American stuff there. There's some uh, there's just it's a collective thing of stuff. And you were there to experience all that. It was important for you to experience all that.
Have we
Um,
held that energy, or like, is it still there?
no,
Is it
it
always going to
was
be here?
no, it won't be. It closes. It's like a fun house that was designed for you guys. It
Okay.
closes, so you will be able to sell. And the people that are there, they might notice a little bit of muffling, but not like you guys have. It's like they opened the curtains for you guys.
What is like
Well,
the next chapter for like what is the farm calling in next for the farm?
oh, they're looking for actually some normal people. Yeah, there's some normal people. There's a young couple or something that's yeah, normal. Yeah, it's a normal. They're just looking to, you know how you have to till the land and just kind of rechange the minerals and all that stuff. That's what they're doing with this new nerdy kind of boring people that are coming in. It's
Okay.
not set up to be a fun house for other people. It's not, this is a very personal thing just for you.
So other people listening to this aren't doomed that they will deal with half the stuff
No,
that we have.
right. No, but they had to go, you had to go through this stuff relatively short period of time. So they had to do a lot in a short period of time because it was, they're looking at their clocks going, oh, geez, we got to hurry.
So Michael, I learned so much from you in terms of like when we were at our last house and just like protection and application. And I think that's kind of what I want you to leave listeners with is just like, how do they
We,
protect themselves? A lot of people that I've talked to or listeners that have reached out that are excited that you're on are like, what do I do with a bump in the night? Or like, and I kind of laughed because I'm like, I almost don't even want to ask Michael this because he's like been ghost busting so much, right? That it's like he's gonna laugh and be like, that's nothing. Just ignore it, you know? But I
right.
think for them, it feels really real. And it reminds me of where I was 7 years ago when I first reached out to you, like, oh my God, Michael, there's so much going on and it's crazy, right? And they're freaked out. They're seeing like a shadow, or they're convinced that something's there, or they heard something that they can't explain, or like a friend just told me about something that happened at a school. And I'm like, sure, there's probably something there. And she's like, what do you do? Like practical application in terms of like, you wake up at 3 in the morning to pee, you come back and you think you see a shadow. Like help people feel better with interacting with spirits or seeing things for the first time. Like, what would
Right.
you tell listeners, Michael?
Well, the thing about that is I okay, so it's a weird thing to see. There's just no getting around it. And when you feel it, see it, hear it, it makes it creeps you out. And I completely understand that because it's just weird, it's just weird. It's out of the norm. But what if it wasn't? What if there was something to it? What if souls don't always just die? Maybe the energy just does stay. The theory is that it's supposed to go some other place and that it's no longer can stay here. And um, that's what changed things for me because I was scared to death of ghosts. I mean, seriously, scared to death of ghosts. And The thing that changed me was when I realized, wait a second, these guys are dead. That they have no rights. They're not supposed to be here. They're trespassing. They don't even belong here. They're not, this isn't their place anymore. They belong on the other side, just like we don't belong on their side. They don't belong here. And when I, it's a long story, but it was a night when they just scared the crap out of me. And instead of running out of the house like I normally did, I just said, no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done being afraid. Because they move stuff. They make you feel weird. You feel off. Everything. It's scary. It's just creepy. But at the end of the day, they're not. You have this natural protection over you anyway, unless you're taking a bunch of drugs and going, "Hey, come on, guys, come on in." Unless you purposely put down that protection around you, which a lot of people, I suppose they do, but you'd have to really want to. You have a natural protection around you, and they can't they have no right. So if you're walking and you're coming back from the bathroom and somebody turns on a light, you tell them to knock it off, just like you would with anybody else. If some little kid was in your house and they're moving stuff and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't go and run away and get a priest. You tell the little to get the hell out of there because they don't belong there.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, I say this as I'm a bit of a hypocrite. My house is lousy with ghosts. It's haunted as hell. It's ridiculous. But I don't want to work here. I don't want to work in my own house because usually when I ghost bust a place and then I come home. I don't want to do my stuff and then where am I going to go? Plus, it's my house. I don't want
Right.
to, it's my place. And they've run amok. They talk to people, they freak people out, they scare people. I've lost workers here, I've lost clients, I've freaks out my dogs. It's so I say that with a grain of salt. I'm not afraid. I'm just not going to work. I don't want to work. It's just leave me alone. So we have rules. You leave me alone at this certain time. You're not going to turn on the television anymore. You're not going to turn on the lights. You stay in my office all night if you want to, but you're not going to bug me in my room. I have rules. I mean, you can set down rules. I should just go on and get rid of them, but that's work for me. And I don't want to talk to them. Just get the hell out or just leave me alone. And I couldn't get rid of them. I'm
I
lazy.
remember when we went to your house for my birthday and we were sitting on the couch, you, me, and my friend Peggy and Tom, and it sounded like a party was going on upstairs. Like
Yeah.
shit was getting dropped and like you could hear
Yeah.
footsteps and we were like, it's just us, right, Michael? And you're like, yep. And we all just bust out laughing because it was like, okay, yeah, we would expect this at your house. Like,
Yeah.
so I
It's
think just say it out
it,
loud, right? Is
it,
this stuff that you
it's
say in your mind to
it's an
them or are you
empowerment.
verbally saying out loud?
Yeah, you can verbally say it out loud. They have once you get past the creepiness factor and you realize that they really have no control over you. Okay, so the people that they have had control over, those people have given them permission to do that. That includes spirits that they have physical relationships with. That's not uncommon. It's a little more uncommon for a male to have a relationship with a female spirit, but it's not uncommon for a female to have a relationship with a male spirit. I mean, that happens all the time, but only because the living person has given them permission to do that. That's the only way it can happen is if you give permission pretty consistently for that to happen. If you don't, and you're normal, you just say, let's go. Stop. Quit bugging me. Get out of here. Um, you have that right. It's it only gets tricky if you get a little bit seduced by a spirit, and that does happen, and then it gets kind of cloudy.
How do people know the difference between like, this is a malevolent spirit that's here for ill intent, and this is just like my grandpa? Like, how
Well,
can,
you'll feel your grandpa, honey. If you can feel a spirit, they don't belong there. Get them out. They don't.
okay,
It's they're like your guides are different. They don't scare you. They won't scare you. They won't show themselves to you generally because they don't want to scare you. That's not their deal. They're there to support you. But if you can see a spirit or feel, even if they come up and look like Mother Teresa, who wasn't that great, but even if she looks like a sweet little lady, you get rid of them.
how does
So,
the
okay,
listener
so
say
the other
like,
day,
get out of here?
um, ju- it's like if you imagine one of your drunken buddies sitting in your living room, you'd go, "What the f- you doing here? Get out of here!" Just like that. You see it, you take the creepiness out of it, and you look at it as though they're intruding because they are. They have no rights to be there. They really don't. It usually happens to people with the shine, that have a little bit of the shine or even a lot of the shine. Um, and they feel drawn to that person. But they have no rights, absolutely no rights to bug you. They don't. They really don't. I mean, I if you take the whole spooky creepiness out of it, you just you don't want unwelcome guests in your house. You
Right.
don't. They have fly strips. You get rid of flies. You get them out. And the other night, 4 in the morning, they turned on my freaking television in my living room, so I had to get up because it was really loud. And I didn't. Um, I just said, "Don't do that shit again." And they didn't, thank God, for the rest of the night. But they will do stuff like that, and it's just it's not. They look for a reaction. If you're a dead guy, or if you're a spirit and you're just bored to death, which a lot of them are, they're looking for any kind of acknowledgement, any kind of anything. And it, it's if you're afraid, it helps that they think it's interesting. If you're um, like, just get out of here, I don't got time for this. Or uh, if you want to go another route, you can. So people use sage and sweetgrass. It's better if it's blessed, but that just kind of annoys most spirits. The whole purpose of that was after you clean the place out, then you burn the sage and it kind of lifts up all the heaviness. But or
You
you
taught us too to like fill yourself with love and light.
I know yeah. See, not a lot of people understand that. You guys would understand that. A lot of If you tell somebody to fill themselves up, they see the power that they have in them and they just imagine it just projecting out. Um, Not everybody can do that. You guys can do that.
That gave us a lot of confidence. Like we would literally just close our eyes and ask Archangel Michael to protect us.
Hmm.
And then I remember you telling us like to put a bubble and like just have the light continue to grow. And so I would just start with myself and like fill me
Yeah,
with love and light. And then like my wingspan, right? Like I would
right,
like in my mind, like imagine my arms going out and be like, just give me a protective bubble. Now
right,
actually just fill this whole bedroom. Now
right,
fill this whole home. Now our whole property. And now just like kick them
right.
out. Like they should be
They
gone
go.
now.
Yeah, they do.
And
But
then I would just
honey,
like say like God, Jesus, I just trust that like you've helped remove that spirit
right.
and
But honey,
protect
that you're
us.
different. You guys are different. You're not like average Joes. An average Joe that sees a ghost, they're not going to understand it. So you have to keep it as simple as possible for those people, and you just tell them to leave. But
Treat
if
them
a
like a dog.
person,
Get out of
yeah,
here. I like the drunken friend. Just tell your drunken friend to leave.
and yours weren't going to go away if you did just that, because yours were a little ingrained, and they were trying to poke you. They were trying to get you guys to see the power of the light that you have and your own power, and so that you could go into any place and not be afraid. They wanted you to defend yourself against them. So it was
We
more
feel
of an
like
exercise.
spirit activity is like way
It
down.
is. Well, because you did your job. I mean, you did your training. That was all about training for you guys. It's a different thing. Most people don't go through that. But yeah,
I do
you
think
guys
there's a
did.
lot of moms though that are dealing with kids that are like having invisible friends or having different experiences. And so would you tell the mom to like a kid's not going to understand having a drunken friend. So like what would you tell the mom to do for the kid? Like I've given kids Archangel Michael pins and selenite and just told them, like just ask God or your angels to protect you, like and
Right.
just is that
So my kids had a lot of experiences and with ghosts. I would talk to them about it. I would ask them, so who's your friend? What do they have to say? And like they would have conversations with them. They would tell me information. It- I wrote about this, but it was so interesting. My daughter was like 2, and uh, and my mother just adored her. And my daughter came up and said that she had an imaginary friend named Lala, and she always talked to Lala, and Lala was really sweet. Um, she loved Lala, but Bianca came up to me one day and said, Lala told her that grandma was sick in her stomach and she needs to go to the doctor. And I thought, oh, that was sweet. And she was talking like, her normal little kid self, not anything weird. And and I was telling my mom because my mom loved all this stuff. And my mom asked, so who is this Lala person? And Bianca was saying, oh, she's my friend. And then she starts playing with something else. My mom wasn't getting the answers that she was looking for. So my mom went and got a picture and showed it to her. And she said, and Bianca said, that's Lala. That's Lala. And it was my mom's mom, Laura. And so my mom thought, okay, I better go to the doctor. And she found out she had a tumor in her stomach.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's good, but um I treated it like a casual conversation. I didn't want to make it into a big deal, like get the holy water out and spray her or anything like that. I just wanted to know what was what. And sometimes it is just an imaginary friend, but sometimes there's something to it. And
Sure.
you have to talk to them, you have to investigate it. And it's not always demon seed stuff. Um, Sometimes they just want to talk to you. But
Right.
and the same thing's happening with my granddaughter now. She's seeing spirit and having experiences, and so we're just talking to him normal. I,
How old is she?
she is 4, but she started having them at 2. Bianca had them up. I mean, Bianca had them most of her life, so she became a therapist because she thought she wanted to figure out the pathology behind all this weird stuff, and so she wanted to learn the logical side of it because she just couldn't deal with all the psychic stuff. And my son, he's always had experiences, but in my family, we just treated it all like it's a normal part of things. You get an intuition about that intuition. And now he's doing it with his kids and um, they're, they're predicting stuff that's going to happen. Like this is going to happen, or mommy's going to drop a dish and, drops a dish, or a song's going to come on and a song's come on, little stuff like that. But um, we just try and keep it as normal as we can. Because I didn't like all the weirdness attached to it.
Yeah.
But they will tell you. They'll tell you. And if it's dangerous, they'll tell you.
So how much of that do you believe, like as a parent, is spirit or like imagination? Like
So
I think that's kind of the danger
yeah,
that
the
parents wonder is
imagination.
like, am I feeding this making up of things or like how do I know that it's like legit?
I think there's a consistency. Like with Lala, Bianca talked about Lala a lot, more than once, more than twice, and would just, um, I, I, I didn't take it as seriously until um, she brought up my mom's stomach. But my mom's always had stomach issues, so I just thought whatever. But my mom seemed to know. I think it's the consistency, or you can tell when a kid's just talking about a goofy friend. There, there's something to, or maybe I can tell. I don't know. Maybe it's just my family, but there's a weight to it. There's a difference to it. There's a different sense to it. Like, yeah, yeah,
That's I mean, when we first started dealing this, I reached out to you when my daughter said something, I was like my stomach flipped, right? And I was like,
right.
this is not okay. And then it was like, how do I protect them? And that was like really what started me on this quest to like and ultimately finding you. And so I guess like if
Honey,
you're a parent that's like worried that it's not just an okay conversation with spirit or something that's like, yeah, but like they're really worried. Like, I guess what is the line on like they should probably reach out for help or that first? And then second would be like, what would you advise parents to do to like help protect their kids if they're worried about something?
okay. So that love you see when you think of your kid, or when you think of Tom when you first married him, or whatever. It doesn't mean you first married. When you think of that love, when you think of something that you absolutely love,
Yep.
I mean, fills your heart. Um, and you do that with your kids. And when you look at them and you feel that it transfers onto them, it's that kind of that has a huge effect on dark souls. They don't have they want nothing to do with it. In fact, I do a lot of possessions, when people are possessed and they're flopping on the ground. It's called wet work because they're always throwing up or something, and it's just disgusting. Um, one way you can tell is if you bring up people that they love, their family, their kids, and they just can't deal with it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They love mirrors, but they hate talking about things that they would normally love. And the dark stuff does not like the love stuff. So when you surround your kids, you surround them with that love that you feel, you just see it, you just feel it all around them. And they're very protected because of that. It's like deep woods off on steroids. It keeps everything at bay. And it also will get rid of the riffraff if they're seeing somebody and it just continues. If that person's coming from a place of love, that won't affect it. But if it's not, you'll notice a difference right away.
Okay.
I mean, and it comes from you, not from, I mean, it comes from you. It does. And that's the thing that saved me on more than one occasion.
I remember you telling me like to just like make out with Tom because they just can't stand it, right? Or just
They can't, but
yeah.
not just for the physical, but for that emotional bond, that connection thing. I know that sounded stupid, but I wanted you to understand the effect that has. That's a big thing. It's a huge power. It's gigantic, you
It
know,
plays to what you were talking about earlier, right? Is like the
yeah,
dark likes fear and
like
stress
fear,
and anxiety.
anxiety.
And so
Yeah,
when you feed
loves
it
all that
full
stuff.
of love and
Right. And
just lots of
unconditional
love,
love. Oh my God, it can't stand it. It just leaves. It just goes.
perfect. Thank you for that tip, Michael. I think that's going to help a
Okay.
lot of listeners.
Yeah.
So the other thing they were very interested in is spirit guides.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like there a lot of the questions I was getting is like if they want to get to know who their spirit guides are or they
Ask
want to
them.
make contact with their spirit guides,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what
Ask
would
them.
you say would be like some signs to look for or what are things that they should do to figure out like who are your guides and how do you reach out?
Right. So that was one of the very first things that we learned when we were doing this stuff was about guides and that you have every right to ask who these things are. Um, and so you won't necessarily get an answer right away, but you do start getting visuals. You start to see things. See, this is the thing that plays. So, the problem with this, as you know, that when you open up a certain door, all sorts of things start to happen. And it's not as organized as you might think. It's like you're opening up a door to a stuff and it just falls all over you. And that's one of the things. So if if you want to know your guides, then you have to also be willing to understand that there's things that come along with it. So you ask about who your guides are. You start getting information. Then you start getting information about other things. You start to feel other things. It opens up a door. It's not a simple question. It's a much deeper question to a much deeper thing. Um,
Let me clarify a little bit. So when you say you start to get things, are these like dreams, thoughts?
Dreams,
Like
exactly.
how
All
are
that.
you getting this?
All of the above. Dreams, thoughts. You'll walk by somebody and you'll have a really strong either a physical reaction or emotional reaction or uh, a spiritual reaction. You'll get it. Something starts to shift in you when you start to show interest, especially if you have the shine. Well, it just changes things. And
So you keep
uh,
calling it the shine.
yeah, the reason they call it the shine is because it's like when you look at a person's aura, you can tell somebody who has a shine because they literally shine. It also attracts spirit to you. That was the
I
whole
do
point.
know.
Yeah.
As you know.
Right. Yeah. So it's an old, yeah, the shine just because it's literally true. And but if you're knocking on that door, you just have to, you can go in just a little bit, but um, it's not something you casually just do. So if
It's
you're curious
Pandora's
about,
box, is what Michael
oh
said.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly
So
right.
like proceed
I
like
didn't want
you're
to,
walking
yeah,
through red tape if you're doing it.
right.
So
That's
just to be
exactly
aware of
it.
that. But it's not to say that it's not off limits. I mean, what's the
No, it's not
value
off
of
limits.
figuring that out, Michael?
The value is that your life is going to change and understand that you will look at things in a different way, that you won't just look for that simple answers won't fit anymore. They won't do. Surface answers won't do. You'll need more. You'll require more from your friendships. You'll require more from your work, and you'll require more from your lovers, and that kind of stuff. It
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
So
It
how
just
many guides do people typically have?
I've seen people with just two guides. I've seen people with seven guides. Usually the people with the more guides are in some sort of transition. You guys had a lousy bunch of guides around you. Guys, you're going through this whole transition thing. You
When,
had
like when you first met us or now, or have
no
they
when you
changed? Do your guides stay
no
the same?
no your guides are different. Well, they change according to what you're going to go through sometimes. Like some of them they stay with you forever, but I think they're helpful for the next phases that you're going through, like a teacher. Like some are more suited for the next phases. And like, that's part of the thing that you guys are going through is that you're exchanging of the guards. You got new people coming in and there's an adjustment period with that. They have to get their seats warm and they have to, get ready. And, but so I would say 2 to 3 is normal.
And when people are thinking of guides, are these like guardian angels, like
Yeah, they call
deceased
them,
grandparents, animal
no, not deceased.
spirits? Like who are
Yeah,
they?
not deceased animals or grandparents. Those people, okay, so guides, from what I understand, they've been around forever. They're just like old. They've known a lot. They know a lot of stuff, and their energy is almost translucent. You can almost their energy is a lot purer than your average Joe. Certainly more than somebody that's just passed, and they're there to kind of influence you, not to interfere, but influence, sway if they can, protect if they can. But uh, people call them guardian angels, people call them guides, people call them all sorts of stuff. I see them as energy kind of things around you, um, and they're sometimes when I'm talking to them, they look at me like I'm just an ant, like I'm an idiot, and but they're very kind. They're it's like they're way more advanced than they just seem to know. They seem to. It's like a parent looking at a child is the way that the guides usually look at me, and they're tolerant of me and they understand my role. Um, but if you ever want to feel humble, go do a reading and talk to a guide. Those egos and the stuff that we deal with all the time is just so silly to them. They just think it's dumb. It's all about the lessons and how we're learning about the lessons and all that kind of stuff. But so to answer your question, they come in all sorts of different sizes and forms. Some of them they don't even look like people. They look like freaking aliens. And those ones freak me out. Or they did when I first experienced that. When I was a teenager, I did a reading for somebody and this alien shows up and I'm like, holy ET, I didn't know what to say. And so I started talking about that. I was like, wow, it's like this alien person. And then the person started crying because they always felt like they never belonged here and they felt more connected to the stars. And so it was helpful. But at the time I just thought, wow, that's weird. But then, since then I've seen them a ton of times. So they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes.
You
And
said there
sometimes,
were aliens around Tom when we were at your house.
yeah, I'll say, well,
So why
Tom's an
did you
odd
say we have a
guy.
lousy bunch of guides? What does that
No,
mean?
I mean, when I say lousy, I mean a lot. You had a lot, not a
Like right
lousy.
now we do, or when
No,
you
you
first met us?
did. You're in transition. You guys were going through a transition. No, not, no, I like your guys. They've always been really sweet to me. Um, no, but they were different and they seem to be getting ready for this next push with you guys.
It's interesting. I think both times we've seen you, we've been like a crossing of the guards, if you will,
Yeah. Well, it's
because the
time,
last
honey.
time we were about to move out here, and
Yeah.
now we're on the cusp, if you will. So,
Yeah. And I will. Yeah.
so like, who's here, Michael, right now? Dead guys or spirit guides? Like, who's with you
But
and you?
you have more than, you have your other people on what's that, your left? Yeah, your left. You got there's some, I don't know, there's some old guy right there.
Right here?
Yeah, right there. But then you got your guides over there. So there's probably two or three, maybe three people over there, and like an old guy there, and then I think another guy back behind you. But it's not a big deal. They're not there to scare you. But I think the people on your left are more recently deceased, or not recently, but
I think
certainly
it's my grandpa and my uncle.
might be. Yeah, they know you. They're just watching. They're getting ready for the show. Timing is a little different for them. Like 10 minutes to them is like a year to us. So I think they're just getting their seats for the next adventure.
Do you feel like any of the guides have a message for me or like the listeners?
Well,
Like,
they're not saying anything to me other than, I mean, well, if they a lot like your stuff is you're going to be answering these questions coming up. You're the one that's going to be answering. They're going to be talking to you. You're going to have to get used to doing that, answering these questions.
and so how do you start that, Michael? Like,
Um,
I guess that's where I was kind of trying to go is like, are they, I was kind of, I didn't really know how it was going to work, right? But it was like, is there a guide here? Yes. Okay.
yes.
How does it communicate with me? How do I know? Like, that's
How do
that
you know,
guide.
honey? Like the stuff that I've told you, you've already known. You've already had it in your head. You've already thought you could have done this yourself.
I know, but you are, I just,
But see,
I'm a
that's
mom
what
at
they had.
home, right? And so
Right.
like
But
I know other listeners are going through these things too. And I think
that
that
are
that's
moms at
part
home
of
too.
what I'm trying to
Right.
do with the voice is like to help. I don't know. I guess in my mind, this is where like I'm helping other people is like,
Right.
um,
And so that's where you're going to go, honey. That's my point, is you already know. It's just that maybe you don't think you're legit, or maybe no one's going to listen to you, or who knows? I don't know. But that's where you're going. That's the next phase, is saying the stuff that you already know. And they tell you. It's just a matter of fact thing. It's not like the gates of heaven open up and they go, you already know. It's because of what you've been through and all the stuff that they've interjected and implanted you, and you're ready to go.
yeah. I think for me, it's a knowing. And I think that's what's different for everybody, right? Is like the different clairs, right? Like, how do
But think
you
about
know
that.
these things? Like, how do you know
You
the old
don't
man's
at
here?
first.
Do you see them?
Oh yeah, honey, Stevie Wonder can see that guy. I mean, he's just standing there right there. He's not, yeah, he's pretty obvious, um, but you can feel him too. You're probably used to him being around, but yeah, you can see him. Um, but the how do you know? And why do they use you? Because you are just a housewife working on a farm, and that's why. Because you come from that place. Because it's what people need to hear, and that's where, um, that's what you're going to be doing. And it's going to get harder and harder for you to. Um, when I've been talking to you, they've been telling me, okay, just wait. She's getting it. Okay, you go ahead. And everything that I've been saying, they've been telling you first, and so that you get it through your head, or hopefully get it through your head that you know already, and that you're actually a lot more helpful than you think you are.
I think that's one of my bigger fears though, is that like what I feel a responsibility in terms of like, and that's like I want to give people good information, the right information. I think that's part of the reason the world feels so chaotic right now is because it's like, who do you believe and what's going on and what's really going on? And like,
Hey, yeah.
that's my fear with AI too, is that like you're seeing people like committing suicide because ChatGPT told them to, right?
Right.
And so it's like there's manipulation happening in so many ways that I really just want to be genuine
But
and
honey,
pure and help people and also let people know that like at this point in the conversation, if they're still with us, like they're probably on my wavelength, Michael.
yeah,
This is a long conversation. I think a lot of
right,
people are like, this guy's full of shit. I'm out a long time ago if they weren't
right.
into it, right? So if you're still with us, thank you. I think Michael's talking to you just as much as he's talking to me right now. Um, I think part of it too, Michael, is just like we're sleep deprived. We're exhausted. Like
I
the
bet.
motherhood, the weight of the world, right? And so you're like, how much of this is just like, I need a nap? And I
Right.
know. And then also, how do you get people to listen when you really do know something? I mean, that's kind of what I went through when, like, I'm positive the guy behind the other guy is my uncle that passed away.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. You know him. Yeah.
I know. And I knew that that was going to happen. I
Yeah.
knew he was going to do that.
You're just their messenger, honey. They will tell you this stuff. It may not make sense to you, some of it, and it may not feel comfortable at times, but they will fill you up so much with it that you'll have to say it. It's one of those things that um, is you're very close. You're right there.
Okay. I guess, Michael, I'll wrap it up with this. What do you say to someone that just like doesn't believe in all of this? Doesn't believe in spirits or like this is to your
Well,
point earlier, the devil's play or it's all imagination or they need evidence. Like what do you say to that?
well, first of all, I completely understand that. I appreciate what they're saying. I have no problem with people that are open-minded skeptics, but I people that are just closed-minded skeptics. It's like what's there's no point. I don't really care whether they believe it or not. I've had too many experiences to just second guess myself, and I'm a pretty big skeptic when it comes to this kind of stuff. If a person's coming to me looking for proof, I understand that they're very basic, kind of first grade people, that they're obviously afraid. Um, people that aren't really affected by this stuff, they don't really care. They're curious, they think it's interesting, but they think it as a novelty. They don't, it's not going to affect them. But people that are really freaked out by this usually have some of the shine and it's affected them growing up and they couldn't deal with it. So if somebody's that objective and they're like, I want proof, or they're very upset, you, they obviously have some sort of abilities that they just don't know how to deal with. It's like being gay and they're just out there bashing gays because they can't deal with it. It's thou protest too much kind of thing. And I noticed that anybody that's come at me vehemently about being a fraud or being a witch or whatever, it's because this stuff just freaks them out. And I
Yeah.
just feel bad for them.
Well, you have your book, Growing Up Psychic, From
I do.
Skeptic to Believer.
Yes.
And I loved that one. I read that cover to cover and it got me so into it that I reached out to you and then I got A Psychic's Life, what it's
What'd you
really
think?
like.
It's different. I know it's a little different, but yeah, it was mostly toward it was supposed to be 7 reasons why not to go to a psychic, but the publisher didn't want to do that.
So find both of your books. Would you
Yeah.
like people to follow you
No,
anywhere else or
that's okay. No, I'm good. I'm good. I got,
you're maxed out?
yeah,
You're
I got a
busy.
lot of people. Yeah.
Michael, thank you. I feel like one of the reasons I love talking to you is you're so full of joy in like
It's
you've
me.
taken something that was so fearful for us and so like
Oh, honey.
terrifying to like to your point, like get out of here, and you empowered us and gave us so much confidence. And you're always just so full of laughs and just fun. I love all those stories and I
Oh,
just
thanks.
really enjoy your energy. And for me, when the world gets heavy, I'm always like, what's Michael doing?
Right, right.
And that's when I shoot you a text. So I love having you, Michael. And
Well,
I
honey, it was
just,
fun to see you. It was nice to see Tom. I just saw his half of his head, but it was nice to see him.
I know. And thank God for Tom helping us with these technology
God, no
issues.
kidding. Yeah.
And thank you for your patience in dealing with all that. But
Yeah. Well, honey, keep me in the loop, okay? Let me know what's happening,
I will for sure. And
and
thank you
I'll
for
reach
your
out
time.
too.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Cheers, sweetie.
Wow. Michael just blows me away. His fun loving free spirit, his storytelling, his experiences, how casually he talks about stuff that gives most people the heebie jeebies. I've learned so much from him over the years, and I always enjoy our time together. If you've made it this far, Thank you for being here. Truly. Thank you for not just tuning into another episode, but for thinking deeply, questioning boldly, and choosing to live with more intention. You are my people. Here's a question that I want to leave you with. When was a time you felt something you couldn't explain? A shadow, a present, a sign. And what did you do with it? Sit with that. Journal on it or share it with me. I would love to hear it. I've linked to Michael's books in the show notes. If your heart tugged or your mind shifted while listening, take that as your cue. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Just head on over to wildlyintentional.com or use the link in the show notes to follow the show on your favorite app with one easy click. And hey, feel free to share this with someone who's creeped out by bumps in the night or trying to learn how to tap into their intuition. The ripple starts in quiet moments, like at 2 a.m. Who knows what it might grow into? This is Mandy, signing off. Until next time, stay rooted, be brave, and live wildly intentional.